Hi, my name is Charlotte Gordon and I teach violin and viola here at Your Lessons Now. If you're listening to this video, then you must be taking violin or viola lessons. So just a few basic things to get you started that you need to know about your instrument, okay? First off, let's talk about storage, all right? It needs to be stored somewhere that's not too cold and not too hot. So never leave it in your car, maybe just for a couple of minutes, but no longer, okay? When you store it in your house, it needs to be somewhere away from direct sunlight and away from a drafty door or a drafty window, something like that. When you store it, it needs to be flat like this, where the top of the instrument, the bridge, is facing up, or it can be stand up like this, okay? Either way is fine. Never upside down with the bridge facing towards the floor. That's not good for the instrument. The other thing you need to know about is when you open it, all right? It needs to be, again, flat when you open it, with the bridge pointing up. So I'm gonna open this piece, undo my latch. You might also have zippers, all right? Take off my cloth. And then when you pick up your instrument, you wanna make sure and pick it up by the neck, shoulders, or down here by the chin rest, okay? You never wanna squeeze it here where the F-holes are. And of course, you don't want to pick it up by the strings, and you don't want to pick it up by the scroll. These are the pegs, which make large adjustments in tuning, and you don't want to bump those, okay? So, by the neck is good. All right, and then you might have a shoulder rest, okay? So if you have a shoulder rest, make sure that has been secured in your case, in its little compartment, or maybe on the outside you might have a compartment, depends on your case. All right, so we're gonna put that on. All right, so that's what mine looks like. When you take out your bow, you're gonna wanna undo its little clasp, always slide it out, tip first, all right? And then when you're getting ready to play, this is your adjusting screw, righty-tighty, clockwise until the space is about pinky width in the middle.
5 minutes later.
You are done playing now. So now we're going to loosen the bow. But before we do that, we're going to get our cleaning cloth. So this is a microfiber cloth. You can get one at a violin shop, or you can use one of those ones that's like for your phone, okay? So I'm going to slide it in there between the hair and the stick. And just clean the stick like this, all right? Then I'm going to loosen my adjusting screw until the hair is close to the stick, not hanging down loose, but just close. And then we're going to put tip first, all right? Slide our tip in its little compartment, and then make sure the bow is secure. You might have something that you turn, or you might have a little arm that sticks down that you tuck it under. As far as your instrument goes, make sure you take off your shoulder rest. Even if it's a sponge, always take off your shoulder rest, okay? Make sure it's secure in your case, not flopping around loose. All right, then you take your cleaning cloth, and you're gonna wipe your strings on the top, get off the rosin, wipe underneath, all over the place. You can even stick it under the strings and clean on top of the fingerboard and under the fingerboard. All right, after I do that, I put it back in my case. Make sure it is secure. I have a little strap that goes around the neck. You might have something similar to that keeps it secure, okay? Then we put our cleaning cloth on top. So you might have a big cloth like this, or you might just have a soft cloth. You can use anything, even an old t-shirt, something to keep the top of the instrument protected. All right, so you put that on there, close her up, make sure you do all the latches. And if you have zippers, use them, because it's good to keep the rain out. All right, so you zip it all up, and then you're ready to store it. So one extra note about storing your instrument. So occasionally, if it's really, really dry out, then you need to have what's called a dampit, okay? Something to help control the humidity. The violins and violas do not like it to be super, super dry. Usually this is a problem in the winter when it's cold and dry, okay? So what you can do is you can purchase what's called a dampit. So it's this little green rubbery snake looking thing. and they're not super expensive. They're maybe 15 bucks, okay? So what you do is, it has a sponge in the middle of it, okay? You take this, you dunk it in a glass of water, soak it for a little bit, take it out, dry it off really good, and then you stick it inside your instrument. So you feed it in through the F-hole, just like this, okay? Feed it in there until just the little top sticks out, okay? So you leave it in there when it's very, very, very dry out, okay? And you can check the weather. Sometimes cases have little indicators to tell you what the humidity is. If you don't worry about it, okay? All right, so, and then you just check it every once in a while, and if it's super dry, then you take it out, soak it again, dry it off, put it back in, okay? So that's the one last thing I wanted to note about storage. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is tuning, okay? If you open your case and you have a string that's just totally loose, all right, don't try to mess with it. If you have a string that's broken, don't try to mess with it. Just take it to me or to a violin shop, okay, and let them handle it. So, but for general tuning, for small adjustments, you can either buy a tuner or you can get a free tuning app. I use one that's called Sound Corset, and it's totally free, and it also includes a metronome, which is fantastic. And it's a good thing to have, even if you're not using a metronome right away, okay? It's always good to have. So this is the metronome feature. Pretty simple. You just make it faster, slower, and that's what it sounds like, okay? Then if I go over to the tuner app, you'll see this little screen, okay? So it's a little needle that moves, and when it's straight up and down in the green zone, that means you are in tune. Okay, so it's pretty foolproof. So I'm going to get my viola out here so I can remind you how to tune. All right, so you always want to use your fine tuners, which are the little screws on your tailpiece right here. Okay, turn them slowly. Don't make giant adjustments. Do them a little bit at a time. Okay, all right, so the best way to tune is to turn on your tuner and get into playing position. Use your left hand to turn the tuner, and then you can bow over your hand like this. And keep your bow moving so that the tuner can pick up the sound. Okay, and then once you get the green light, check mark, you're in tune. All right, now there are a couple of things to note about using this kind of tuner. You have to make sure that you have the proper letter showing up. So if you're playing A string, you should see an A. If you're playing G, you should see a G, all right? If you see any other letter, that means you're super out of tune, and then you need to let somebody else fix it for you, okay? Now, if you see an A and it has a little symbol next to it, you might still be able to fix that. So if you see an A with a little squished B sign, that's the flat sign, that means it's really, really low. So you might be able to turn your fine tuner clockwise to tighten it and make it higher, okay? If you see an A and a sharp sign, which looks like a number sign, that means it's really, really high. So you're gonna wanna turn your fine tuner counterclockwise, lefty-loosey. So you want to loosen it until you see just a letter with no symbol next to it, okay? So you can handle that yourself, usually. And if you can't, don't worry about it. I'll fix it when I see it. Or you can take it to a shop, okay? So that is about all we need to know for the basics. So I hope you have a great time taking lessons, and hopefully I will meet you soon. Bye.